the French is the inspiration for one of the most beautiful regions in Teyvat, and in turn some of the most amazing characters in Genshin Impact. We've got magicians, news reporters, fashion designers, Ridsley, her. Just kidding, I use her on my scuffed on-field Nahida Bloom team. Many of these characters have unique roles and responsibilities, some of which are more dangerous than others, and as a champion dualist, Clorinde's work involves constant battles. Now Clorinde is regarded as one of the strongest in Fontaine, but how strong is she really? Is she ready to fight the entire world? Can you beat Genshin Impact with only Clorinde? Now to get the rules out of the way, I'll keep them short and sweet. I can only use Clorinde. All weapons can be used and all banners are allowed. No food in combat, no co-op, and no glitches. And real quick, I'm thinking of doing a Q&A at some point, probably when I hit 20k subs, so if you would like to ask me a question, please put it down in the comments below and I'll try to get through every single one. A quick shout out to Hey Oo, and without further ado, Clorinde starts her journey off by falling out of the sky. And lucky for us, we got her a matching weapon. Not the Pain Slasher. First we made our way over to Amber's domain, and unlike last time, I actually managed to do the skip first try. That was until this happened, and I spent another 10 minutes here. But hey, at least it wasn't 20, okay? I'm getting better. So next we switched it up and went to Lisa's domain, and because Clorinde is Electro, she can actually complete it normally. But we decided to skip it anyways, because no pain, no gain.
Break it, and we can...
I didn't collect the precious chest, are you serious? Kaya's domain was next, and for the most part, we have to complete this one normally. But let me just say, if these damage numbers are what we're seeing this early in the game, then wow, are we ready for a ride. Unfortunately, her dash on her skill doesn't work on water, so we're gonna have to jump over the spikes instead. And with Kaya's domain conquered, we have successfully completed Mondstadt Act 1. Now it's time to farm until AR 10, so I'd like to take the opportunity to introduce you to our lovely main character this video. I'm going to tell you all her secrets, and she can't do anything to stop me because
my opinions do not matter.
Now, what's so great about Clorinde? Her normal attacks are really cool because she does a flip. Her burst looks really impressive, but really is just upscaled coaching. Clorinde is one of 3 characters currently in the game that utilizes the Bond of Life mechanic, and personally, I like the feel of it the most on her. And this is coming from someone who consistently uses the other 2 characters, by the way. Arlecchino uses Bond of Life to enhance her attacks and heal with her burst, but it decreases with each attack and it's not as optimal against solo enemies. And Sigewinne just heals more and restores enemy, but you have to absorb source water droplets. Clorinde gives herself increased crit rate plus a decent self-sustain, which is really great especially for a solo run. Now her skill is really great as well, it is literally just JoJo poses. Her skill cooldown is pretty short after it ends, so she has high damage output and elemental application. The great thing about her skill is her dash. It saves a lot of time exploring because it doesn't use stamina, and so you basically have infinite fast movement. The skill by itself has probably saved at least a couple hours on the timer. Now moving on to her weaknesses. The problem with her skill during exploration is that she can easily get stuck in places, but that's really a skill issue if anything. The auto target on her skill is a bit rough, it targets the closest enemy even if they're invulnerable, and you'll notice this will be a huge pain later in the story as well. Her skill doesn't give any interruption resistance, so if she gets staggered or knocked back, you lose significant damage output. And probably the worst downside of them all, she's French. Just kidding. Because of her fast attacks and high elemental application, her kit was designed for reaction team comps, whether this is Overloaded, Aggravate, or even Electrocharged. Clorinde shines best in teams where she can trigger a lot of elemental reactions. By herself, she does nowhere near as much damage, and in some cases, the damage from her basic attacks is equal to, if not stronger than her skill. There's a couple downsides, but they'll come up soon. For now, let's move on to Mondstadt Act 2. Okay, please a 4-star sword. I'll be so happy if it's a sword. That is not a sword. Now the first fight is against the Eye of the Storm, and funnily enough, Clorinde's skill can actually hit it, so it was more of a breeze than a storm. After that, we infiltrated the Tui hideout and fought Zamenhof. Another downside to Clorinde I didn't mention is that she can miss her burst pretty easily. There's about a 1 to 2 second grey area where she does, nothing, so her target can just, Next was the Ruin Guard, but it only really has high physical resistance, so we're the perfect match against it. We're not a champion duelist for nothing. Next was this domain, and we're up against our toughest enemy yet, an Abyss Mage. Now normally, Abyss Mages are a new player's nightmare, but not for Clorinde. You can destroy Abyss Mages in one rotation. I'm really happy the devs decided to make Abyss Mages come in these specific elements. I hope they don't decide to release a new type of Abyss Mage at a later date. But that was Act 2 complete, so after another 1.5 hours of grinding, we moved on to Act 3. Please, 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 a sword. Please. Literally every single weapon except for a sword. How unlucky is that? Now, I don't need to get too into detail with these fights. First was a Hydra Abyss Mage, but again, we demolished their shields like nothing. And remember her skill having auto-target? Bro, why do you auto-target like that? Now, going into the Dvalin fight, I was expecting a fast clear, but I wasn't expecting it to be this fast. The raw amount of damage that she's doing to this lizard is nuts. Okay, to be completely honest, it feels like those anime where the main character gets isekai to some medieval dirt poor dog doo-doo country, and their weapon of choice is not magic, not bows, but a fucking Smith & Wesson 9mm. 2 rotations and it's over. Dvalin is shot dead in the back alleys of Mondstadt. Venti was found with his balls exploded. And so we finished Mondstadt in my record time of 4 hours, 42 minutes and 57 seconds. Out of all the characters in the game, I feel like there's only a distinct few that can beat this time. And this is even after trolling in a lot of random places. I think I could have finished at least at half an hour faster. But anyways, it was now time to grind to Liyue Act 1. And speaking of grinding, here is the perfect time to talk about Clorinde's materials. Clorinde's Ascension materials are not all too bad. Let's start with her boss. The Millennial Pearl Seahorse is actually pretty okay for a newer boss. Its moveset is pretty simple. It's easy to dodge a lot of its attacks, and because we're Clorinde, we can out-heal any terrain damage. There's only 2 problems with this boss. Firstly, it has a whopping 140% electro damage resistance. Our skill is hitting a high of 18. We're literally giving this overgrown fish a fucking haircut. You know what's worse? The pearl on its chest has an electro shield, and I dare you to guess what kind of elemental damage we do. Long story short, we're never breaking that orb for as long as we live. So we're just gonna have to put up with this electro resistance. Looks like Fontaine enemies have evolved to withstand guns, unlike our third world Mondstadtian counterparts. Clorinde's regional specialty is Lumitoil, and it's not all that hard to obtain. Most of it is in areas pretty accessible to us, such as around the fortress of Mirapede and along certain coastlines. The most annoying part is probably the transoceanic pearls, because those things are just too cute to kill. I'm sorry little ones, you must be sacrificed for the greater good. But after a lot of exploration and partially completing some story quests, we finally were ready to start Liyue Act 1. Okay, please, just a sword. Any sword. Pain Slasher again! Our first fight was against the Millilith, and since Mooncarver had a bit of a hiccup, we bursted like mad and put holes in 30 men. So first we went to Mountain Shaper, and what the fuck, why can't I get this stupid guy within the first 5 rocks? Like, Clorinde, don't you hunt on a regular basis? Aren't you supposed to be able to figure out where he is? Next was Cloud Retainer, and it took me a couple minutes to do this skip because Clorinde got stuck on this little bit here a few times, but we managed in the end. And lastly was the guy getting a new artifact set. Wow, gee, I hope there wasn't someone farming Animo Vermilion goblets for 1046 days. And there was a Ruin Hunter here, but we're the better hunter, so you know what they say. And that was Act 1 complete. Traveler, oh wow. So now it's time for... Oh, wait a minute. Please, a sword. Please. 4-star? Sword? 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 I don't want this old lady. Okay, so now it was time for Act 2. And our very first roadblock is here. The pot. The pot needs to cook, and unfortunately for us, we can't. There's pyrophlours under it, but we don't do anything even with our skill. Wow, Clorinde, I didn't know you were a medium-sized male model with gold hair and animo powers. Wow, you look stunning today. Also, look at our damage. Level 50, and we're doing a whopping 1324 damage already. Next was Bedamping's teapot, and there's only slimes in here, so we chucked this big fella away. Next was the Guizhong Blister fight, and I'd like to point out something I mentioned previously. This is a prime example of Clorinde's basic attacks doing more damage than her skill. As a matter of fact, pretty much all human enemies have reduced physical resistance, and even without Prototype Rancor, Clorinde still does less DPS with her skill. Now, don't go building physical Clorinde. This is only true at lower levels and against certain enemies. But with that being said, we have now completed Act 2. So next was Xingqiu's quest, but when I went to go buy some core lapis, I got interrupted by the Lantern Rite event.
Stop right there, heroes! goes.
So after a bit more farming, we hit Adventure Rank 28, which meant it was time to start Act 3. Now, Coriander can't activate this windmill, so... Oh, wait a minute, Clorinde, you're back to your gold hair form. Oh, wow, how wonderful. You're really helpful. Thank you, Clorinde. You're amazing. Wow. Oh, and I already shot 30 of these guys dead. I'm pretty sure we don't need to see any more carnage.
The victor is declared.
Up next, we waited for the perfect opportunity to sneak past these Fatui agents, and knowing Clorinde, I was sure she was able to do it with ease.
Time to sing whenever you're ready.
I don't enjoy fish.
Now, Child is a rough one because he's resistant to Electro in his second and third phases, but we gave him that more accurate beatdown. He came to Fontaine for a beating, and a beating he shall receive. We chucked this guy in the same alleyway as Natlan, but he unleashed Osayo, so... wow. Yeah, this is without the boss, by the way. And that was Liyue complete.
My name's Dainslet. 500 more. Dainslet. That is my name. Dainslet.
Now, this Abyss Herald was a lot tankier than you'd think. Believe it or not, Electro actually does the least amount of damage to Hydro Shields. Instead, it applies a damage over time effect. So it did take a while to take down this guy, but Clorinde hasn't lost a duel before, and she won't lose today either. And after 12 hours, we finally get a 4-star weapon, a Lion's Roar. Now this sword is good for 2 reasons. Its substat is attack percent, which means more damage, and its passive makes us do more damage against enemies afflicted with Electro, which means more damage. Okay, now it's not the best sword for Clorinde, but hey, I'll take anything at this point. But now it was onto the nation of Electro. You thought. Correct. I'm pretty sure we don't need to entertain Faye the Flyer. Now Inazuma starts off with the delivery, and as a matter of fact, Clorinde used to be a bodyguard. So you better believe we're protecting the goods with our life. But next we went to raid a police station. Wait a minute. Hey, this doesn't sit right with Clorinde. She's the champion dualist. She upholds the justice in Fontaine. She literally uses justice. Why would she raid a police station? This goes against her morals and all she stands for. This isn't very Sigma of us. How could we do such a thing? So anyways, I started blasting. Act 2 begins with a match against the strongest Electro in history versus the strongest Electro of today. Okay, we let her win, alright? We still haven't lost the duel. I'm not insecure about it or anything, alright? Okay. We walked away with pride this day and with no regrets. So we took a bit of a detour and hit the archery range. And Clorinde has a gun, so you'd think she's a great shooter, but you couldn't be more wrong. She has enough range to hit the dummies, and her Osha strike is an AoE, so we can easily clear the first wave. The third wave, however, is hard because the red dummies are in front, and it's so much easier to hit them. But with careful precision, you can just hit the targets. Now the problem is this wave here. Because the dummies aren't really considered enemies, the auto target on Clorinde's skill doesn't work. It's good because we can aim individual targets, but it's bad because she can't hit the targets at an elevated level. The only way she can attack targets is with the additional Osha attack. However, because of how the game handles damage, the left red target will always get hit first. We need to hit a target first to trigger the Osha attack, but because the AoE of the Osha attack is so large, we're never going to be able to hit the top target. Also, for some strange reason, the game stopped letting me hit the first target multiple times. So I came to the conclusion that it was impossible with only Clorinde. So, here's Red Clorinde. My jock. Are you able to join my world? My corp is disabled right now. Now moving on to Act 3, Clorinde can actually do this puzzle because she's Electro and fast enough to light all 3 monuments before time runs out. Electro Traveler be like. For some reason, you can still apply Electro Charge on this Liyue. I don't know how it works, even though they have Electro Shield and everything, so I'll take it. But next was the Delusion Factory, and the Fatui were delusional to think they could hold back Clorinde. Okay, now I don't know a lot about her, but she really hates these rainflies. She hates them so much, she'd rather target them than the Sensen Mage literally breathing down her neck.
What the Sigma?
This time we were the one initiating the duel, and Signora was on the chopping block. Now her first phase is easy. She has this barrier thingy, but that's not stopping us from shooting the shit out of her. Usually Signora is one of the fights I'm most worried about because there's no fancy mechanic from an Archon to save us, but I'm gonna be completely honest. This time she wasn't much of a big deal. We put her in that coffin encased in ice faster than you could say,
Greetings. I am Clorinde, a champion dualist of the court of Fontaine. If you wish to hire my services, please state the nature of your dispute. You may leave out any extraneous details. Those are no concern of mine.
However, the worst was still yet to come. Our rematch with the Shogun approaches. We're so nice, we even gave her a slight handicap. Now, even with the buffs, this fight was probably the roughest we had to face, because guess what? She's immune to Electro. I mean, it makes complete sense because she's the Electro Archon. She has full control of it. We forced the Shogun to surrender, keeping our perfect win streak and saving Inazuma from moral injustice. And so, we finished the entire Inazuma quest in just over 18 hours. So back to the chasm we went. What the hell are these birds doing? These Serpent Knights can't match our speed. We can stagger them multiple times. There's a Hydro Herald here, but he got a shock when we pulled out the Glock. There's only a couple enemies here that gave us a bit of trouble. The first is the Electrolector. Guess the problem with this guy. I bet you can't figure it out. The funny thing is, its attacks drain our elemental energy. Yeah, as if we're gonna use our burst on you anyways, you piece of shit. It took 5 whole minutes to break this guy's stupid shield. It literally takes longer than the fish with legs. This isn't even a world boss, it's just a guy.
You're just a guy.
To top it off, there's a couple of Electro Abyss mages, but honestly, I'm not even mad about these. They're nothing compared to that f***ing book hogger. The only annoying thing about them is their absolute rage bait. Like, look how smug it looks putting up that Electro ring. It's f***ing laughing at us. So, onto Sumeru we go. And let's not dilly-dally too long here. Clorinde despises this place.
I have never missed Fontaine so much in all my life.
The Withering gave us a few troubles. I don't know what's up with Codeine, but apparently her charge attacks can miss. For some reason, the hitbox on her charge attack is just out of her character model, so when she dashes forward for a charge attack, she's too close to the plant and the charge attack just doesn't hit it. And just when you think you're in range to hit it, you're actually not. And when you're actually in range, it still misses. So the logical solution is be in front of it and not hit it at all. How does this make any sense? Chlorine gave these guys a lethal dose of lead, and that was Act 1 complete. So moving on to shooting Dunyazar to speed up the plot. Act 4 begins with Clothing committing mass murder against the desert people, followed by the Elazar hospital. We use the Dendrogranum teleport trick, and our skill here is really great because it saves a lot of time getting to the elemental monuments. So we definitely made it before time ran out. What the fuck? But after a couple more tries, we managed to get all 3 monuments lit up. A long trek in the desert led us to Rahman's group, and we fought a couple of fungi here, but that's about it. On to Act 5 we go. I'm sorry Rahman, we're gonna have to put some holes in a few of your men. We made easy work of the Fatui and made our way over to Scaramouche. The only type of Fatui enemy that kinda sucks for us is the Electro Hammer because it puts up an Electro Shield. But we can get rid of almost all its health before it puts it up, so it's nowhere near as annoying as the floating book nerd.
I just gotta put the fries in the bag, bro.
Now Scaramouche has increased electro resistance, but it's not that much, so we still do a significant amount of damage to him. I figured it would be faster to beat him than to be beaten, so we blasted his mechanical ass. For the second phase, we kinda just have to run around and do nothing until this point with the turrets, but huge problem here. We can't destroy them. They don't take physical damage or electro damage. Nahida can, however, destroy them, but we're Clorinde. We fight fair and square, and there's no way we can just let a little radish do the work for us. That's kinda cruel. So we're gonna kill her instead. Unfortunately, this means we don't get him in his knockdown state, but we still fulfill our role as champion duelist, and it's time for the Boat of Consciousness. Okay, I tried to skip the first island here, but the Door of Resurrection just never popped up. I tried multiple times to get the checkpoint, so they either patched it or I missed it, but I'm pretty sure it was right here. So I toughed it up and completed it normally, but it was all in a day's work for Copium. And so after another 30 minutes of talking, we completed Sumeru in just 30 hours. Next up was Caribert, and we have hit another roadblock. We cannot light this fire. We don't have any pyro, and we don't have access to Animo or Dendro, so we can't spread any external sources of pyro. So since we're from Fontaine, we represent law and order, and what better way to do so with an actual lawyer? Okay, why is this guy called Fortune Lector? What kind of fortune does he have? Is he just fortunate enough to have a massive cryo shield? So we move on to Clorinde's hometown, Fontaine.
What are you trying to do, traveler?
Hey, switching sides are you now, cauliflower? Our next obstacle is the flowers, and we need hydro. Okay, I honestly didn't even realize that we were talking about flowers, and I called it cauliflower just then. Like, I unironically. Moving on. Our next obstacle is the flowers, and we need hydro to get them. Conveniently for us, I collected this waypoint way back when we were collecting Lumatoil, and I just so happened to remember that there were hydrogranim right here. I have 100% exploration for Fontaine. I swear I have a life. Please believe me. Please believe me. Please believe. Bruh.
Ready.
Bro! What the f? Don't worry, I got them all in the end. Moving on to Act 2, we show up like a f***ing boss and wipe out the Gardemex with style and grace. Don't ask me what this buggy plunge attack is. The only point of interest in this act is Marcel's secret lair, where there's a bunch of Gardemex, but these clunky pieces of scrap cannot outclass the real deal. I have to say, we've kind of been outscaled a bit because I haven't farmed any talents or artifacts, and I haven't bothered to change any artifacts since Liyue, so it's taking a bit longer to finish our jewels. And that's especially the case for this fight right here. Our burst is doing a total of 14,000 damage per enemy, and that's literally less than a sixth of this Ruin Guard's health. What is this guy made of? This fight was tough, but Clorinde was tougher. We weren't going down here against some random mobs, no we weren't. We're better than that. We are the Candlebearer, the Shadow Hunter, the Defender of Justice, the strongest duelist in Fontaine, and there's nothing that can stop us from... Hold up, rewind. Nouvelet did his job now, so it's time to do ours. The whale's first phase is pretty simple. Dodge, attack the orb, and you're good. The second phase is quite literally the same thing. Dodge, attack the orb, repeat. It just helps a lot that Clorinde is from Fontaine and she can easily destroy the orbs in one hit. We didn't even need help from Monsieur Nouvelet.
Well, Clorinde, I must commend you for your courage.
And so we ended Fontaine in 38 hours, 21 minutes, and 33 seconds. So now...
Ojo-sama, it's time to go to bed.
I don't think I need to explain this fight. We have tons of experience with these guys, so let's just be happy they're not Electro. The Abyss Herald is next and it's cryo, so we can break the shield. It just takes a while, but that's basically bedtime stories. So it's time to leave Fontaine and move on to Natlan Act 1. Okay, now hang on. You may have noticed already, but what's with the timer? Why are we back at 12 hours? Now, I only gave one small hint this video, and it's right here. Okay, yeah, there's no way you noticed that. But if you watched my last video, you'd already know why. Let me explain it again for all you new viewers. The game lets you quick start Natlan after completing Liyue Act 3. And after completing the Dainseef quest, here's where we stand. We're 3000 experience off of AR30, which means we can't immediately start the Inazuma prologue quest. There are other quests we can do, such as the Jade Chamber quest, but compared to Natlan Archon quests, nothing gives nearly as much experience. Also, we're gonna need to do Natlan's quest later in the run anyway, so why don't we just do it now, as it's one of the options we have. We're saving time, and there's less need for grinding exploration and moral quests, especially at the stages after the Chasm quest and Carry Bear. In fact, I was debating whether or not to do it again for this video, but I got praised instead of shadow on last video, so okay, I was inclined to do it again. Starting with Act 1, our first fight with Clorinde is against some abyssal monsters. These guys are a bit tanky, but our gun is still pretty effective against them. Now, most characters in the game would have trouble with this abyssal pylon, but not Clove. She applies Electro fast enough to break the shield in one rotation. Act 2 starts with a fight against some abyssal monsters, and there's a Pyro Abyss Mage here, which means we can use Overloaded to delete the other monsters from the game. Oi, 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 oi. Act 3 begins with a fight against the Fatui, and here I used the Yumkasor to proc Aggravate, and it definitely aggravated them because this hammer guy was so blinded by rage he missed every single hit. Act 4 starts off with some more Fatui, and you wouldn't believe how fast this guy got decimated. Some more Fatui later, and can someone please tell me what the hell this agent's running off to? Also, this robot has impeccable timing. What is with the things in this nation? Like, that's frame perfect. And now for the main event. War. Like always, our first choice is Under Siege, because this guy in particular. Next, I made a huge mistake and instantly clicked this one because I looked at the Rift Towns and went, oh hell nah, which meant we had to deal with the Electro Mage. But we had some nice people help us out. it's kinda against Clorinde's moral code to gang up on an enemy, but look, okay, I had to make an exception for this one guy. I'm taking you back to my collection in the back alleys of Mondstadt. I don't even need to talk about this fight. And now for this choice, I usually like doing the Rift Towns first, but since we're Clorinde, I chose to do the other fight. We have to do both fights, but the trade-off is whatever you choose first will be an enhanced battle. It's essentially 2 big Rift Towns and 6 small Rift Towns, followed by 8 Abyssal Saurians if you go north, versus 1 Mimiflora and 6 Abyssal Saurians, followed by 4 small Rift Towns if you go south. And Clorinde wrecks the Abyssal Shields, so the Mimiflora it is. Alright, in this fight, for some strange reason, the other Mimiflora that was supposed to be on the total other side of the bridge floated all the way over to us. Like, I don't think you all understand just how far away this guy spawns at the start of the battle. First, it has to ignore Bakao and the Tapitli Saw fighting it, walk around the entire totem pole while ignoring another random guy fighting a Hilichurl, and then cross the bridge just to get in range to attack me. The amount of obstacles preventing it from reaching me all the way over here should make it impossible for it to even get to me in the first place. But no, it just had to inconvenience me for no reason at all. Okay, I'm sorry Mimiflora, did I hurt your feelings or something? Did I harm your family in any way? What the fuck did I do to deserve this, huh? Okay, and now shooting at nothing. Maybe you're just really fucking stupid. Moving on, now it was time to save Charska and okay, just Charska at this point. Okay, now fun fact about these Mimiflora. When it mimics these Metaturls, it can change from an Electro Axe to a Pyro Axe Metaturl. And when it does change to a Pyro Axe Metaturl, this happens. Alright, thanks for burning yourself. It's literally killing its own shield, so thank you. These Mimiflora are actually dumb. Let me give you a lobotomy. After destroying a bunch of tumors and screaming, "For Natlan! For Natlan!" until my voice gave out, we finally finished Act 4. And after a couple more Rift Towns and Mimiflora, what are you aiming at? She legally cannot fight in this battle. We keep Kabusi's perfect win streak, continue on to the rest of the story and listen to a great tale about none other than Concrete, finishing the entirety of Genshin Impact in just over 39 hours. And what a great way to finish our story by doing another 10 pull. We get a Pain Slasher when it's not even on the banner! Going forward, I have a bunch of challenge ideas in mind. Some are character challenges, some are non-character challenges, and I need some sort of way to compare each challenge. So here are the metrics. Okay, now I've chosen these 4 categories because they can apply to both character-specific runs and mechanic-specific runs. You might notice that one of these categories is a bit different to the others, but this is because it doesn't correlate to the difficulty of the challenge, unlike the other 3, and also so I can give my personal opinion on the challenge. We're rating these on a scale of 1 to 5, so let's get right into it. For combat, Clorinde gets a 5. As a newer DPS, you can already expect her to do well in a solo challenge, and she definitely delivers. She has everything you want in a team of 1. Strong elemental damage, strong physical damage, self-sustain, short cooldowns, big damage on the burst. She's just really a great unit. She does much better in a team for sure, but she can still function really well by herself. She also excels in one-on-one fights against bosses, with the exception of those with electro immunity like the Shogun, but apart from that, there are few to no detrimental downsides. Farming consists of collecting materials and fighting world bosses to level up characters and weapons. Clorinde gets a 4. Every material Clorinde needs is in Fontaine, and after Mondstadt Act 3, you get a bunch of free waypoints in Fontaine, so they're really easy to access. Lumatoil is easy to get as long as there's a lot lying around. You only need to do 2 rounds of collection to have enough for level 80. Transoceanic pearls are also everywhere in Fontaine, and even if the drop rate isn't that great, you can just buy them in the shop. The only reason why I can't give her a 5 is because of her boss. Her boss has electro resistance, and although the fight itself is easy, it does take a while. Now, while you might not get a great weapon, you have access to Prototype Rancor and free artifact sets such as 2-piece Thundering Fury and Berserker, and they're strong enough to last you for a while. For exploration, I have to also give a 4. His skill is great for exploration because it doesn't consume stamina, lasts for 7.5 seconds, and goes on a short 8.5 second cooldown after it finishes. This means you can continuously sprint and still have stamina remaining when the skill refreshes. I can't give this one a 5 either because there are a few issues with the skill, such as getting stuck in random places, auto-targeting enemies, and bombs, but it's such a handy skill to have, and it saves so much time compared to just walking around. For enjoyability, I have to give this challenge a 3. Clorinde is just fun to play. Her kit is really cool, and being able to move around like
I doubt it. After all,
up is just so fun. The combat when her skill is up also feels great to use. While she's fun to play, she does feel very straightforward and simple. I have no complaints at all, but it felt like there was nothing to worry about when playing her. She's just that perfect unit for a solo challenge, and while this is my first ever solo challenge, it definitely didn't feel as interesting as the other types of challenges I've done. So I have to put her in the middle of the block, giving her a total score of 16 out of 20. I'll read my other challenges another time, so that is all for this video. Remember, chuck a Q&A comment down below, and I'll see you in the next one.